30 years. 30 years are much more than just a number. They represent 3 decades of dreams, challenges, lessons, and above all, people. Teams that left their mark, clients who trust on us, and an industry that grew alongside us. To all of you, thank you. Thank you for being part of a story that not only built a company, but a way of understanding how brands and people connect. If there's one thing that defines Marco, it's that we've never stopped. We transform again and again from a trade agency or consultancy into a regional company, from a local operation into a regional platform, and today from a marketing company into a business go to market platform for brands across the Americas. Because at Marco, change doesn't scare us, it moves us. Today, we stand at the beginning of a new transformation, one that's not only about how we look, but about how we think, work, and create value. We are building a platform where data, technology, innovation, and creativity come together to drive brand growth. But above all, we remain what we've always been, people passionate about making things happen. Because our purpose remains the same, enriching lives by reimagining the ways people and brands connect. Today, we are not only celebrating what we've been, today, we are revealing who we are, a new chapter, a new identity, the same essence, but a new voice to tell the world who we are, a transformation you can hear, see, and feel. Because we're still Marco. But from today, this is how the world will know us.
Hey, Marco.
This is more than a new image. It's the beginning of a new era. And who better to talk to about how it all began and how we got here than the one who started it all? Let's have a conversation with Pablo, Marco's founder.
Hello, Pablo. How are you?
Hello, Niall. How are you? Amazing everything we saw, huh?
Did you see? Hey, how nice this is. Honestly, the truth is, this launch, well, we've actually been preparing it for quite a long time now. And, well, it finally came to light at last. That is to say, what we were preparing was shown, let's say, or part of it.
There's a lot of work behind this, huh?
Yes, and a lot of care and a lot of genuine concern from so many people who, well, are making history. We're making history, Pablo. And if you want, let's get a bit into the topic. 30 years. I mean, it's wow. It really, honestly, it does sound like a lot of time. There's an Andres Calamaro song that goes, "If 10 years later," right? Now, imagine you multiplied that, in this case, by 3. So just think how many things, right? I mean, in 30 years?
Yes, honestly, quite a lot. I really still remember very clearly some events that happened 30 years ago, which were milestones for the company, back when it maybe wasn't even a company yet. I really doubted, or rather, I seriously doubted whether to start the company or not, when they asked me what I needed to create the company. At that moment, I talked about assets instead of the budget for people. or in fact, the fact that when someone explained to me either we expand into other countries or companies from abroad will come and buy us. 15 days later, I traveled to Chile and we opened Marco Chile 3 months after that, while this person had to sell their company 5 years later. I remember those moments as milestones within the company, and now when I look back, I always talk about them, but they are moments, important ones.
Well, if you agree, let's go ahead. Since you started with the more reflective part, let's say about the 30 years, if you want, we can go through the different moments together. And clearly, when you're in this kind of situation, you could say that you become a little bit nostalgic. But actually, no, you become reflective because you start to find milestones or points on the map for everything you've experienced. What you've lived through in 30 years is basically your life, I'd say, right? So, I'd like to start with a question that the team actually helped me put together, asking people, well, what would you ask Pablo, president and founder of Marco? And it's specifically, if you could go back and be part of what you did in the past, what would you do differently? If you could rewrite part of that story, perhaps pick up a pencil and reimagine and redesign part of our history, what would you do differently? But also, what would you keep from that story?
Let's see. I just told you about the things that I did. And that had an impact on the organization. And I always, well, maybe it's just part of who I am, think about all the things I thought I should do and in the end didn't follow through on. And then when the moment comes and time passes and you look back, you say to yourself, I should have done it. And I'm the kind of person who reproaches myself for the things I didn't do. Within Marco, I think that after 30 years and seeing everything we built, it's honestly hard to criticize anything in a negative way. To be completely honest, I always say I have a prodigious memory because it forgets everything but remembers the good things. To criticize after 30 years and looking back, taking a retrospective view and seeing how well everything has turned out, honestly, I have very few things to criticize.
It wouldn't be fair. No, I don't know. I don't know if it's really about fairness, but you brought me to a point talking about your memory, and I think sometimes the two of us get together and it's like we're both Dory, and I say to you, Pablo, do you remember this? Because they're asking me about this and you say to me, no, Lilo, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, I mean, sometimes you just let go, right? I mean, of what you experience as you go through life, because I think taking a bit of your feedback, I think that in the end, what you are is what you are. That is to say, what you've done is part of what brought you here. The good, the bad, the reflection, and what isn't. I mean, if in the end you change something, you're often changing the foundation of everything because that's what ended up bringing you here.
Absolutely, I think you have to be aware of what God gave you and make the most of it, not reject your shortcomings. Absolutely.
Yes, but well, if there's something you would keep, something you would say, look, I get the whole thing about change and keeping things, that you would keep everything. But if there's something you might want to invest in, to amplify even more, I mean, if you had to think and say, look, I would give more strength to this, I would give much more importance to this, something I might have minimized, I mean, I'm trying to play around and see if... Don't dodge the question, so to speak. Please give me something concrete, something specific that I can really understand and grasp.
More importance. Let's see. I think that really having trust in people and letting them do things you wouldn't do yourself, That to me is really a good definition of delegating. I think I've tried to do it, but I think it's key within any organization, and I bet it certainly should be within Mako as well. Giving others space and empowering them. I think that definition of trusting that the other person will do something they want to do, that they can do, and that maybe you wouldn't do yourself, is a way to empower people. And obviously, it has an impact on the organization. I think
That you would always work on that. That's very good. And I'm going to be completely honest with you here. It's something that you have always consistently worked on throughout your journey. I mean, if there's something, let's say not everyone has actually had the opportunity or the chance to work with you directly. Today in the company, there are very few of us who, in the end, we've experienced the day-to-day realities of the company's early days under your dedicated leadership, many years ago now. But if there was something that always persisted in your leadership, it was a genuine trust in people, trust in your team. And being able to instill that sense of responsibility for what they had in their hands. You did that very well, honestly. And if you had done it even more, as you're saying now, I think it might have been something truly wonderful as well. Let's move on to the next question. The team is putting a bit of pressure on me with the questions. They're throwing them at me. The second question, Pablo, is about those moments that we've all experienced in our lives. I mean, you know, those times when you just can't fall asleep, when you really have to make an important decision. And there are those extremely complex decisions, those challenging choices, and you toss and turn in bed, you get up, you bother the person next to you, but your mind just won't stop. It was he. And maybe the question is, what was that decision? For you to tell us more is to get into your own experience, let's say, that tough moment. It's really not pleasant, because when you're going through it, you're honestly having a pretty bad time. But once you've gotten through it, it's like you've taken a ton of weight off your shoulders. What was that decision?
Well, you know, anyone might reasonably think that an Argentine company during the major crisis Argentina went through in 2001, one of many, but that one was huge, might not have slept during that period or might have had a really hard time. But in the year 2001, because of the important actions we had taken just a year earlier, we were already, let's say, firmly established as an international company. Or at the very least, we had already started moving down that particular path. However, there's a specific moment that I remember very clearly, almost as if it happened yesterday, when I suddenly thought to myself, what exactly am I doing here? And until I finally got off the plane and actually got started with everything, I have to say I had a really hard time during that long flight, feeling quite anxious and uncertain about what was to come. And it was the second flight I took to Brazil. I had taken a first flight to negotiate with, at that time, Pan and Microsoft for a presentation. They called me and said, we really like the idea, why don't you come over? And we moved forward a little more and I got on the plane. I mean, we already had the Chile office, and even though things weren't going well in Argentina, this was 2001, the beginning of 2001, I thought, what am I doing? Brazil obviously was 3 or 4 times bigger than anything that could happen in Argentina or Chile. And I was going to open an operation that would triple what we were doing. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And that question, how am I really going to do this, truly weighed on me during the entire flight from Buenos Aires to São Paulo. Because financially, we didn't have the capacity to take on an operation the size of even the smallest one in Brazil, which was 3 times bigger than the largest one in Argentina. So, well, I got into the taxi, and after a brief ride, I arrived at the meeting, and I'll never forget it. There were actually 2 meetings, one with Pan which at that particular time was a very successful company that later disappeared and won with Microsoft. And I thought, okay, I absolutely have to negotiate the financial part. I asked, what do we do if things go badly here? If things go badly, it would be a crisis for the entire company. So I let everyone make their requests and negotiate, and at the last minute I agreed to everything. But I needed them to pay me on the very first day of the following month after the service was delivered. He looked at me and said, but we don't do that. We're a corporation. Well, either we do that or we don't do anything at all. And the truth is, I had no other option, and they agreed. And well, that negotiation was worth it, because it allowed Marco to grow in Brazil and Mexico. But honestly, it was a very stressful moment. I could mention more, which were a normal part of a company's growth, where you start to delegate and realize that others can make mistakes and there could be a crisis in the company. But that moment of stepping out from what was Argentina and the budding Chile and moving into a country as big as Mexico and Brazil. But I especially remember the trip to Brazil. I thought, what am I doing? Or how am I going to do this? That was the question, and well, we got through it.
Yeah, how do those moments really move you? Because notice how starting from that very question, beyond all the different variables you have when you're building a project, it actually ends up being that you truly focused on exclusively the financial aspect, where you said, well, I can give up everything else, but this I can't let go. Why is that? And why don't I have the capital to be able to face it? And also because I founded the rest of the company, meaning if this goes badly, it's huge, right? It's tremendously enormous. I mean, and there were actually a lot of people in Chile at that time, in Argentina at that time. And by the way, Argentina hadn't even gone through what happened in 2001 yet, honestly. It was before, of course. But anyway, let me switch to another mood for a moment. What still surprises you about Marco, if anything? Also, I mean, after having seen and experienced so much and gone through so much with the company, what is it that you say or perhaps still wonder about? This still surprises me.
I'm really amazed by the number of nationalities, people from different countries who work at the company. It amazes me and makes me proud, obviously, right? And every time we celebrate an anniversary and you look and see that it keeps growing, it's astonishing. There's also something else that never ceases to surprise me, and I think it must happen to most of you or to everyone watching this video, and that's the difficulty of explaining to our parents what it is that we do. Time goes by, and many of us are still, even after all this time, explaining what it is that we do for a living. It's funny, but it still happens to me even now. And well, another thing that also fills me with satisfaction is seeing how time goes by, how the company evolves, but also how the people who built that company are growing. I mean, your case, Gonzalo's case, or the case of many others that we started out as young people. They started families, became professionals, and everything evolved alongside the company. But just look at how everything has grown, right? That really, I mean, the fact that the company has somehow contributed to professional growth, to family, to all of that, it still amazes me.
Yes, it's really nice, yes. Yes, let me add something that surprises me about what you mentioned at first, and that's this topic of multiculturalism, right? I mean, there are people everywhere. What really strikes me about that, Pablo, is that when you go through it, the environments and situations that people experience in those countries are all basically the same. That is what really gets my attention, to the point that it gives me goosebumps, is that the culture is the same. It's uncanny. The codes are the same, the way we interact beyond the culture itself. One could say, well, we're in the United States and American culture has its own particularities, But what you sense and what you feel is that the environment remains the same in Mexico or in Peru or in Brazil, in Colombia, in Chile, in Panama, in Argentina, and that surprises me. It's almost magical, I would say. For me, that point, which is somewhat connected to the first one you mentioned.
But I think it's about trying to enhance the most basic aspects of interpersonal relationships, of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Of helping each other out, working as a team, and understanding that achievements will be shared by everyone, not just by one person. To let leadership come from the best in people, not the worst. To enhance that, I think that's fundamental. We haven't discovered anything new, but always trying to respect and prioritize the local culture while also trying to ensure that people
In those basic matters, right? Yes, absolutely. The only thing is, for someone who moves through many places, the basics are often what's most lacking as well. I mean, there's a bit of everything, right? But anyway, Pablo, is there still something you don't quite understand about what we do, which you kind of mentioned, right? With this whole thing about explaining to our parents what it is that we do, right? It's still like when someone asks us, yo, so what do you do, right? My mom, who, by the way, Mother's Day was just a short while ago in Argentina, and you ask her, well, what do you do for work? And it's hard to tell her and explain in just a few words and not in a complicated way what it is that we do. But I'd like to shift a bit more towards the market, right? I mean, I think you still say, look, I can't quite fully grasp this, or the business itself, or perhaps there's an area that still leaves me with some lingering questions, or maybe there are alternatives, I'm not entirely sure. Something that speaks to you more from the outside, that is more from the broader market about what's happening, something you're not fully understanding there.
look. On one hand, I'd say that I truly think we're privileged to have, over these past 30 years, worked with or been part of, collaborated with top-tier technology companies and some of the most influential top players in the market, and to have been able to witness firsthand the remarkable evolution of both technology and the market. We started the company at a time when buying a computer was, in many ways, like buying a car, an important, significant investment. I remember that at the beginning, I had to decide, do I buy a computer or do I buy a car? Everything that was the evolution of mobile phones, how we experienced it alongside the companies that they grew and disappeared. And how did all of that actually evolve? And today we're facing something really disruptive, which is artificial intelligence. What impact is that going to have? And having had the chance to live through all of this and look at it from above, to see how things have changed, what is going to happen with what we have ahead of us now, really. I read, Leo, I try to study, I investigate, and it never ceases to amaze me. On one hand, the amount that's being invested excessively and what is going to happen in a very short time. To think that in order to set up an artificial intelligence data center, they're even considering installing a mini nuclear power plant to provide the essential energy required for its operation. Energy is something that, without a doubt, is going to change the status quo. And how is that going to impact that? It's something that keeps me busy, as I often find myself thinking carefully about the impact it has within our business and how it might affect our work.
Yes, of course. Let me for a moment. How you see human interactions in that future? Or do you have any idea, or do you have any interpretation of how you imagine it? That? Well, I mean, because at the end of the day, our job, what we do day to day, is really to establish connections. At the end of the day, we connect people, individuals, consumers with brands and companies. And we connect them in a variety of different ways through people who help to make those important connections happen in each of the physical channels, but also through digital solutions that allow us to create that connection, that interaction. How do you see it? I mean, just out of curiosity, do you have a particular point of view or stance, or is there something you're imagining about those interactions between brand and, or I would say between humans, let's say in the future, perhaps?
Let's see. I think we're going to have to keep on doing what we've been doing for quite a long time now, and that is to continue to train ourselves to use the various tools that are available to us. And we've always tried to use the very latest technology whenever we can, right? Going back 30 years when... So we brought the Excel book to the office. I don't know if you remember. And we all had to get certified in advanced Excel. And at that time, Excel was pretty much the most advanced thing out there. And we all read a book that was at least 10 centimeters thick. And well, today the challenge, I think that's something we haven't lost, right? The tools we use nowadays and how people train themselves. I think right now we're ahead. We're moving forward with something quite similar. We really have to encourage people to continue with their training more and more. I think interactions are going to be even faster, client, consumer, and us. And we have to be actively interacting there, not necessarily ahead of the situation, but definitely from behind or perhaps somewhere in the middle of that ongoing interaction. I completely agree with that perspective.
There are two elements fundamental to the future, and I agree about speed, agility, and transparency. That is, for me, those are two fundamental elements in that future. For me, I don't know. And that agility is about speed, and transparency is the ability to trace that interaction in a very clear way. Pablo, how do you imagine the future of the framework? Now let's just look ahead to the future. How do you picture that future?
Well, we're talking about having gone through a lot of changes, and I think that ahead of us, there's another significant change coming, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we're going to we will adapt and strengthen the company. We started activities very recently that's in general, right? In most situations. Adapting to these changes, which we're used to. And today I mentioned how we originally started out and the various crises that we have faced and experienced along the way that we experienced in Argentina. And that actually, in some way, the company has a bit of that unique Argentine DNA that makes us adjust to changes, that gives us that remarkable ability to adapt to change. You can't really see it, but the changes Argentina goes through, that's just how it is. But anyway, the company, I think it has that ability to adjust and adapt to change, and times of change will most surely come. And the company has always worked on adapting to them. We have invested a lot in training and in training ourselves. I think that's a key factor that you don't notice it at the time, but over time, it reinforces the company. It helps the company adapt. And it means that any change doesn't have negative impacts, but rather positive ones. from a commercial standpoint, I would say with a lot of potential ahead, especially with the recent opening of a new market. We've only been in the United States for a relatively short time, and I think there's huge potential for the company there. And well, I truly think the best, brightest, and most successful years for the company are still ahead of us.
That's great. Really nice indeed.
I think we have tremendous human resources potential. It's truly incredible, Lilo, and we've actually been working on that project continuously for quite some time now. No doubt about it. I mean, I'm not saying anything new. No doubt about it. I mean, I'm not saying anything new. But the company is, without question, 100% about human resources. There is truly nothing else behind it. It's simply people with knowledge, expertise, and motivation, and leaders, of course, who inspire and encourage those people to achieve their goals. But that's what we work on, and I think that foundation, that unwavering focus on people is what truly sets us apart. On which all those people stand is very solid. So it's hard not to imagine a future that's positive.
That's really great. I completely agree with you. I totally agree. Pablo, I truly want to thank you for offering this space and this opportunity. It's honestly a gift, not just for me, but especially for me, because at the end of the day, I'm the one who reached out to you to have this meaningful conversation. And even in confidentiality, and let me mention this, you said to me, Lilo, do you really think this is important just for you or also for the company? And I told you, of course it is. It's extremely important. This conversation, because you, as president and founder of the company, you have something very unique, which is having experienced the company throughout all this time. That is to say, you lived it, you felt it, you saw it from different angles, and no one else saw it from your shoes. So, having this opportunity and this gift you gave me and now give to the whole company is truly something to be deeply grateful for. And I just want to say goodbye with one last message. But it's to that company, to that Marco, 30 years from now, Pablo, that we are truly speaking. That is, imagine, if you will, that Marco will be 60 years old at that point in the future, right? So perhaps we will dust off this video, retrieve it, and watch it together 30 years from now. And here's the important question. If you had to leave a message, a meaningful message for that Marco, the Marco who will exist 30 years from now, what would your message be to him?
I think we've already talked about that before, but just to sum it up for you, the takeaway from this conversation is to trust, to have self-confidence, and to improve everything you possibly can. To trust. We've talked about delegating. Trust. I think that's what you really have to convey, both to the people you work with and to every single client. Whatever you commit to, you will achieve it. And you will always strive to improve everything you possibly can in every way. So trust is essential. I think that has to be part of the DNA of any person or any company. Everything that can be improved must be improved. And obviously, the overarching theme here is innovation. And I don't just mean for oneself. People tend to associate innovation with technology, but innovation is present in every little detail. Improvement is found in everything, not just in technology. That association, if you will, that false idea that innovation only comes through technology. So with this important idea of trust, genuine confidence, and a continuous effort to improve everything, I truly believe that in 30 years, the company will be at least twice as large as it is today. Surely in 30 years from now, certainly, many of our children will be working within the company, and honestly, that would be really wonderful. Obviously, those who are truly qualified and indeed have the ability to do so. And who knows, maybe a company that will eventually be present in other countries, in places where today we aren't even dreaming of being. But it's really as simple as looking back 30 years to today and then projecting just a little further ahead, and that's it.
Well, an incremental or exponential curve. Pablo, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to everyone, we're now continuing with the other block of the Future Roundtable with the global leaders of the framework. So, well, see you there. Thanks, Pablo. Big hug.
Thank you very much, Lilo. All the best.
Welcome to the table of the future. Hi guys, how are you? Hello.
Everything.
Is that really good?
Very well, good morning. The talk with Pablo was really nice. I don't know if you had the chance, well, I imagine you did, to listen a little bit. Yes,
The truth is, it was excellent.
Absolutely. Very good, certainly.
Thank you very much. Yes, it really was, with a great deal of affection. Each of these steps, each tile in Marco's 30-year journey, is built with a great deal of affection. Guys, well, now it's time to talk a bit more in greater detail about the future. To start revealing and discussing things that are not only directly related to the impact, of course, of our corporate image and everything that's coming up in the near future, but also to the broader and more significant impact of what is about to start happening as well, which will soon become evident. Looking ahead to 2026 and beyond. So I took the time to bring you all together here today so that we could discuss some important concepts, and from those concepts, address this more future-oriented agenda. That's exactly why we've called it the Table of the Future. We're going to talk about 3 key concepts. And from there, we'll start constructing from each person's unique perspective how they interpret this concept and the impact they see in organizational terms for the company's future. Sound good? Are you with me on this? Yes, go ahead.
Let's do it. Awesome. So,
Let's go. All right. So let's start with the first concept right at this moment. The first concept is agility. All right. Would anyone like to start?
I'll go ahead if that's okay with you. From my side, I think that especially when viewed from a technological perspective, agility in this process of becoming a platform also means thinking differently. In other words, moving quickly while also taking firm, deliberate steps. And I think the technology will ultimately become an important enabler that simplifies, automates, and connects all of the key players involved in this ecosystem.
great, Maxi. Well, from the people's side, I really see the need for people to adapt, to try to take a bit more calculated risk. In other words, to be willing to take more chances and start trying new things, even if someone is worried about whether it will work out or not. But to take that risk and to learn and unlearn in a more agile and flexible way, right? That is with much more confidence in the ongoing processes of adaptation and transformation. I think this is going to be very important in order to get through and ultimately reach that future.
I believe that from marketing, we can actually see something that is very important. Agility is something we are very much accustomed to here at Marco, and we truly move at this rapid pace of industry transformation, of the consumer, of brands, and all of this together, demonstrating how we are that main player, the key partner, accompanying this entire process with intelligent, thoughtful, and human responses, a wealth of information and data behind it, and of course, always in real time.
You're on mute, Gonzalo.
Gonzalo, you're on mute right now.
Sorry. What I was saying, is that it's really great. From the strategy side, I believe that agility is truly one of the most central elements of our overall value proposition for the future. And I know It clearly comes from the authentic voice of our valued clients, our own dedicated people, our experienced experts and au pairs. Getting information to the point of sale on time with actions that genuinely provide value and have a meaningful impact is absolutely fundamental. So one of the elements that will truly set us apart and that will be shared throughout the entire company is the important concept of agility. In other words, working with a focus on agility will be key to staying one step ahead in the way we create value through the actions we carry out for our clients. Great, let's go on, because you see that gives me the perfect segue to introduce a concept that I find particularly important. You mentioned staying one step ahead, and from the perspective of production and operations, I think the key to our activity is how we anticipate the future, anticipation. So, what do I imagine? I imagine a predictive day, a day that becomes conversational to achieve that speed of interaction, that rapid exchange of ideas and information. I also imagine a recruitment process where we can anticipate future hiring needs, identifying talent before the need even arises. So I think we're also going to have to manage and sustain that speed and intensity with data, ensuring that our decisions are always informed and timely. Data is what allows us to make the right decisions at the right time, providing the insights and clarity we need to move forward with confidence and precision.
I'm picking up on Mayut's concept of anticipation because with the commercial teams, it often happens that we're the client's first point of contact. The client still can't imagine what the service is going to be like. And that agility, that response time, that first impression allows us to make Marco tangible or to dream about what it will be like.
And of course, afterwards, to have the ability to move at the pace of the business. So I think that first interaction starts to shape our DNA and our value proposition to the client. And something I imagine for the future is when it comes to building proposals, maybe having a deck ready in hours, not days.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, guys. Honestly, I loved it. I loved seeing you and interacting under this concept, and that it really builds our interpretation of a pillar. As Gonza rightly says, a fundamental one, I would say. Understanding that we're at this table of the future, which is the concept of agility. Let's move on to the second one. Transparency, right? Who wants to start?
If I may, and I'm going to touch on a delicate subject, I'm going to venture into a sensitive topic. Look, in our industry, unfortunately, there are certain individuals or entities, there are competitors who sometimes try to lower the prices of services through practices that do not comply with local regulations, whether fiscal or labor related. I think Marco's value proposition, Marco's commercial proposal is absolutely the opposite. We sell peace of mind, and not only this, thinking about it from the business point of view, when a brand, a client buys a service from us, I think about the procurement people, the compliance team, internal controls, and finance. For example, they are buying security, they are buying peace of mind, and a service that will always be in full compliance with all the regulations. Transparency is fundamental to our value proposition, and I believe we are a player that seeks to change how the industry operates.
Let me just add a little more to that point. I really, truly like that concept. And I also personally connected with the idea of traceability, right? That, of course, provides very important and essential support for transparency, specifically in our processes, as you know. And for those who might not be aware, we are now starting a very significant and transformative process for the organization, which is migrating all of our production processes to SAP, right? Ultimately, our goal is to achieve, or at least to aim to achieve, true end-to-end traceability in the management and administration of each of the processes, precisely to provide greater visibility and make available all the management indicators that this transparency gives us.
Yes, well, let me just add a little bit, perhaps. We're more or less going to circle around the same points here because quite clearly this is another element that connects all of us together through different initiatives. This definitely is a bit like what Leah mentioned, right? In fact, it really does highlight our shared connections. Everything related to our structural model, our data models, and our internal processes must be carefully and consistently oriented toward clearly conveying that transparency, not only to the client, but also internally within our organization. This deliberate approach will also allow us to make better, more effective use of information and be more agile in our operations. In reality, all the elements that make up the value proposition of frameworks are connected, some among others, right? I mean, when we talk about agility, when we talk about transparency, when we talk about efficiency, right? So the key here, as I understand it, is how we are going to work around the different elements, right, of our value proposition so that they are coherent and ultimately so we can deliver the solutions our clients are expecting, right? So when we talk about this, there we have a very significant and interesting challenge looking toward the future.
Of course. And I think something important that we can say here is that transparency really connects all of us together. We are all interconnected, right? This aspect of showing how we do things within the framework, this authentic and genuine collaboration that we have built throughout this story and that we will continue to build into the future, right? This unbreakable trust between the brands, our teams, and all the consumers. I think this is something that as a person within a company and also within an ecosystem is what will always connect us.
Great, Itch. You mentioned something particularly interesting, which is being genuine. This also has a strong connection with transparency. And another thing I kept thinking about here is that transparency also brought us to this point in our discussion. I mean, Marco, historically and always, it has been a very transparent and open company. And I truly believe that this is absolutely clearly fundamental. For the future, we need to continue in this way, building and nurturing relationships that is in a transparent manner, always being genuine, sincere, and authentic. I think this is what will guide us, or rather, we need to guide these relationships and the way we behave, act, and interact with others in order to build and create this future, in my personal opinion.
Great, Nati. I'll jump in here for a moment. I believe that transparency and trust in the end are assets, one of the most valuable assets we have. That's why, from the perspective of information security and digital ethics, these are no longer just technical requirements. Ultimately, they are a way to build these relationships with the city of Leia, making them solid and sustainable. I think that looking to the future, every piece of data we protect, every technological decision we make will reinforce the platform as an activity and at the same time, our commitment to transparency in this regard.
Well, thank you all so very much for being here and for your wonderful participation. One last challenge remains, and there's only one word left. So let's go with
innovation. If you want, I'll take the word here. Innovation might sound a bit overused. It's always floating around in the business environment. But I think today, more than ever, we need to be open to innovation because the changes happening at the business level are very, very profound, perhaps as significant as the invention of fire, the discovery of fire, the wheel, or things like that. So, what does this mean? The challenge that lies ahead of us is truly enormous. And the specific challenge that we are taking on for the next year is to thoughtfully rethink our business model so that it fully embraces the important concept of innovation. We need to actively promote and encourage new and innovative ways of working that help to foster and stimulate innovation within our teams, within the broader business ecosystem, with our clients in general, and with everyone involved in this industry in particular. To achieve this, what we have chosen is a platform model that, in a way, involves building and leading a new business ecosystem for go-to-market. And this is the way we have chosen to face the future, which, at least for the next 5 or 10 years, will be especially crucial for competing with value propositions, as we mentioned before. In other words, follow concepts like agility, like transparency, but all of this has to be framed within a business model and within a proposal, which in our particular case is the innovative auto-market platform. So, well, this is the specific challenge that we will be taking on and working to address for the upcoming year, which is 2026. We invite you all.
Well, a wonderful challenge, isn't it? And this, once again, I think is really quite evident, right? Where we are constantly and truly questioning the status quo. I think the most important thing to start innovating beyond just adapting or bringing in new technologies and so on is to question this. And from the productive and operational aspect, I also think it's really interesting to actually consider the culture of continuous improvement, right? Where we're constantly rethinking these work processes. Just recently, earlier this year, we launched a very interesting and comprehensive Lean Six Sigma course for the entire OPER team, where a major and important chapter was precisely this: how to innovate effectively through continuous improvement. And I think we're definitely making progress. These are pretty significant and important steps, just as Gonza mentioned. The fact of establishing a comprehensive business model and an effective operational model actually clearly shows that we have the ability to move forward, to be flexible, to be agile, all within a strong and reliable framework of transparency and, of course, always seeking greater scalability. We want a company that is always growing, always evolving, absolutely. And I think that here,
building on everything we have accomplished so far, because as a brand, we have positioned ourselves as one of the most, if not the very most innovative companies year after year. I think this entire evolution of our framework has put us where we are today. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds, how we rethink ourselves, how we become these active players, shaping that future, working so that this future progress, so that people and brands can truly meet, right? When we talk about consumers and when we talk about trends, we are trying to better understand what makes us innovative, right? Anticipating what is truly coming, connecting data with genuine emotions, and of course, opening up new paths where the industry really only saw isolated points, right? I truly think that this is without a doubt the very best branding that we have ever had as a brand, right? Beyond that, of course, our completely new image, our brand new website, and everything else that we are rolling out in terms of innovation will all be transformed into real, tangible actions, right? So that people can see it, feel it, experience it. Honestly, I think that's actually a really exciting future, honestly. I'm really excited to see everything that each of us, right? In the company, we're going to be a part of it, and well, right?
A very promising future. Thank you. And on my end, I can't help but likewise put myself in our clients' shoes. And something that often happens, in fact, to brands or manufacturers who do Instagram marketing, who do trade marketing, is that their own companies sometimes see field operations as a cost, not as a results-generating machine. Ultimately, this perspective can be limiting. And it's a very complex and multifaceted challenge for brands because the industry as a whole doesn't offer. Again, I challenge the industry on this point. The industry asks us to fundamentally change the business model and the way out so that teams are not seen or measured merely as a field cost, but rather as true generators of results. Tuoko. The solution is to monetize the business in a different, more innovative way. Instead of monetizing people, monetize the outcome, monetize results, sell out, share of shelf, market share. I think that I experience innovation by consistently challenging the business model in order to find the best possible solution for our clients and to challenge the industry as a whole. I believe that is how, from the perspective of the commercial team, we truly experience innovation.
Thank you, Lean. I have a point here that actually ties in quite closely with something Mo mentioned earlier, which is that I think our evolution in the end isn't just about simply adopting technology when we talk about innovation, but it's also about how we're going to truly crystallize this platform that connects brands with their go-to-market in a way that is intelligent. And I think that in the end, innovating today truly means thoughtfully designing that ecosystem where everything happens and the front end operates in a way that's seamlessly connected to a strong backbone. And that backbone contains the data, the processes, and all the people aligned and working together toward making an impact with our client. The client, in turn, receives this information transparently, quickly, and in a connected way through the platform. One point I want to make connected to innovation and something that's very trendy in artificial intelligence is augmented intelligence, what will truly shape the future and bring about real transformation. In the end, It's each and every one of us truly empowered by artificial intelligence, and this is going to help us all a lot to be much more productive in our daily work. Even in terms of technology, but let me tell you something important. All of you will receive an email from me either today or tomorrow. One important step we're going to take as a company is to implement an artificial intelligence chat system that will be connected with the entire organization, making communication even more efficient, in which you will be able to ask any question about the company from any area, from any GBS, in order to provide a more agile and seamless connection, start bringing forward innovation, and begin to make this important leap in value by accessing data in a much more efficient, agile, and innovative way.
That's great, Maxi. Something I've been thinking about. Mal mentioned these continuous improvement processes, right? It's very important for people to be fully aware that innovation processes do not belong solely to just one group or one level of the company, but rather these processes belong to everyone throughout the organization. And it's also very important that people are able to gradually build this confidence to innovate through ongoing development processes and continuous learning opportunities. In other words, that they can learn they're always seeking content, information, activating this sense of curiosity to continue to further build and develop these innovation processes individually on an individual basis. And in this way, be able to make a collective impact. So everything we're talking about regarding the future can only be achieved if and when people have this awareness, that each one of us individually can and must build these kinds of innovation processes so that in turn a collective impact can be made and we can reach that future,
Thank you very much, guys, once again. Honestly, it's a genuine pleasure to have you at this table. Maxi, you didn't reveal a name. You can say it now if you want or if you like.
Oh, I didn't want to reveal it. Yes, the chat to receive it will be Jay Marco. So you can talk directly with our platform as well as with Jose and Marco to, well, present absolutely anything you might possibly need.
From the company. No, perfect. But really, thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to share a little bit of the message about what we've been working on as a team. Because honestly, for me, and I say this to you maybe in this space of the 30th anniversary, it's a huge pleasure to have you here. In this particular space, so we can truly observe and see how you choose to convey what we've all been working on together as a group. And whoever has the chance to see it from a distance, even if only for a brief moment, ends up seeing something truly great. Not just because of what you represent, but because of what Marcos as a whole represents. And I think what we're building is really interesting, guys. In light of this 30th anniversary, and of course because of everything that's still to come. So, 3 important concepts that are going to be central, I think, and truly fundamental for the future, not just for Marco, but for the entire industry, are the concepts of agility, transparency, and innovation. So thank you for joining this roundtable. And well, let's keep going. Now we continue with the Marco Awards, which I hope... Let's continue and keep watching the entire broadcast of Marco's 30th anniversary. So thank you once again. Have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, your attention, and your consideration.
Guys, a hug. Thank you. welcome to the Marco Awards. Nati, how are you?
Hi Lilo, I'm doing great. How about you?
Very well. Well, we're moving along, going from one segment to another. Well, and we're finally arriving at something that truly represents us, something that we've been developing for many years now, the Marco Awards, which have become a significant and meaningful part of our journey. Iko, I wanted to ask you, what do they truly mean to us? The Marco Awards,
Lido, the Marco Awards are truly super. I mean, it's a really beautiful and genuinely special moment because it's when we recognize and honor our people and those who represent what are really important and fundamental pillars for us, where there's a meaningful mix between our values and our essence, right?
it's something that
People represent in a truly beautiful and meaningful way what these important pillars are, and they are a vital part of what helps to build and shape our future. They are truly ambassadors of our culture, embodying the values and spirit that define us. Yes, and something very interesting about this process is that these people are recognized not just by a small group of individuals, such as leaders or managers, but by the entire company as a whole. This means that their contributions and positive influence are seen and appreciated by everyone, making the recognition even more special and significant. So that's also really interesting.
That's exactly what I was going to mention. Both the nomination and the selection processes are conducted by the company as a whole. In other words, it's not that a specific person decides who they are. Instead, anyone in the company can nominate someone they believe is deserving. For example, if someone wants to nominate a colleague in category A, let's say Natalia, then everyone votes. Actually, this approach ensures fairness and inclusivity throughout the process. In a completely transparent way, people share their interpretations about each of these nominees. So honestly, I am very happy with this award because it also coincides with our 30th anniversary, which means that these 6 nominees will become ambassadors of these elements of our culture during our 30 years. So, if you agree, let's take a moment to warmly welcome the very first ones to join us tonight as we introduce the first category, which is innovation. Please join me in welcoming Guido and Javiera, who will be representing this exciting category.
Hi, how are things? How are you all doing?
Welcome, Guido. Welcome, Javiera. How are you guys?
Well, thank you very much.
Everything's fine.
Please. Well, first of all, congratulations truly to both of you. I mean, the fact that people in general, that so many people from different backgrounds and walks of life have recognized you both, especially in the context of innovation, really means a lot. So, congratulations again, Guido, truly, from the bottom of my heart. You were awarded for your remarkable interpretation of the opera, that is, for your unique vision and understanding of the identity of the opera itself, and Javiera, representing Chile, and for your outstanding interpretation of the extra. And there, together with Nati, we were thinking of asking you both a question, which is, what does this recognition, this honor represent for you personally, and how do you feel about it? That is, could you please tell us a little bit more about what innovation truly represents in general terms, and then after that, what this particular recognition possibly means to you personally, considering that so many of your colleagues recognize you as true innovators in your field? But let's start with the first question, okay? What does innovation mean to you?
Well, I'll start and break the ice for everyone. For me, innovation is really about looking at the issues and challenges we face every day, the different situations that come up, and first taking the time to truly understand them, not just the issues themselves, but also the people who actually carry out those important processes. And from that understanding, seeing if we need to change something, if we need to improve it in some way, or if we should keep it just as it is, but always with the goal of improving the overall situation that we are currently in, right? So that's a bit of what I understand by innovation.
Thank you, thank you. And me?
Innovation, as I have also seen it from the perspective of my career in design, is about finding innovative solutions, and sometimes not necessarily brand new solutions from scratch, but rather about creating value, often in different ways. And solutions that already exist, like doing something in a completely different way, that would already be like, wow, honestly, that's groundbreaking and innovative.
No, but you bring up a truly fundamental and essential point, which is that innovating isn't necessarily about creating something entirely new. It's often about taking what already exists and giving it a new transformation that significantly impacts our daily lives. That's very important, guys, because innovation can sound... First, maybe it's a bit overused because the concept itself is overused. Everyone talks about innovation, everyone has talked about innovation at some point, but I think what's fundamental is understanding the impact you have in producing change. It's like, in daily life, with the people around you, you can actually make an impact with very simple, everyday things that are related to this. Embracing the intention to generate greater value. Embrace the needs or problems that others have. In some cultures, we call it finding a way around it, right? That is, when it comes to a problem, it's about giving it a little twist and seeing how we can solve something, right? So now, what I'd like to ask you all is, well, what does it really mean to you personally then? Javiera, could you please share with us, what does it mean to you that all of Chile, the entire country, because honestly, all the experts who are going to see this, who will be watching this, have been recognized, especially those from Chile in particular? It makes me extremely happy, truly. And I think that a lot of people have recognized you as a true innovator, especially from the expert's perspective in this particular field. So what does this mean to you, Javiera?
Well, honestly, it makes me very happy. I'm very grateful, and it really brings me a lot of joy because what I actually studied is design and innovation. So I feel like in my life, I've consistently been recognized very precisely in this particular category. And honestly, I absolutely love it. I truly love everything about, as you said, turning things around, not seeing problems, but instead seeing opportunities. And I feel that innovating, as I mentioned before, isn't just about creating something entirely new, but it's also about finding new and meaningful ways to connect with people, to build relationships. And that's exactly what we do at Marco and what I personally do through Gracias. My role as a designer. So I'm truly very grateful, very happy to.
That's super. We are also very grateful for what this represents, let's say. Guido.
Well, I agree with Javiera, and I'm extremely grateful for this recognition. The truth is that being a significant driving force behind this category, the truth is I really do love it, and I'm genuinely very passionate about, as I mentioned before, working to improve the state that we are currently in, and also to improve the company overall. So I truly appreciate everyone who voted for me, and I also want to thank those who didn't. Thank you very much, and we'll truly try not to let you down next year.
Very good. Remember that you will be the ambassadors of innovation throughout this entire year, so you have to uphold that important category with pride. Nati, is there any comment you would like to add to what we are currently discussing?
Yes, absolutely. And guys, really, thank you so much, because this is a category, it's a super important pillar for Marcos. I mean, it really represents what Javiera was just talking about. It really represents what the company is, truly reflecting the core identity, values, and spirit that define Marco as an organization. And this is not just a strong need, but also a fundamental and distinguishing characteristic of Marco. So the fact that you can represent what innovation means by showing creativity, adaptability, and a willingness to embrace new ideas and also motivate other people to join in and start thinking about innovative processes is incredibly important. It is super relevant for Marco's future growth and ongoing success. Thank you for your dedication, and let's also warmly invite others to be part of this exciting and meaningful process together.
Very well, guys. Thank you so much. We say goodbye to you, and we'll move on to the next category now. Have a wonderful afternoon.
A hug to you all.
All right, Nati, well, let's go ahead with the next category. What would the category be, and who are the awardees?
Let's go with hyperconnection, if that's all right with you. And there we have Tessie and Sonia, who are joining us all the way from Chile. Hello, Tessie. It is wonderful to see you. Hello. How are you all doing today? I hope everyone is feeling great. All good?
Welcome, Sonia.
Hello. How are you all?
Very well. Thank God. Everything's perfect. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us today, ladies. Congratulations to all of you. What a truly lovely and wonderful gift you have received, both as nominees and as awardees in your respective categories for OPERs and expats. I imagine you must be absolutely delighted and very happy.
Yes, of course.
Yes. All right, girls, if it's okay with you, let's just go over again briefly what we were doing with the boys in innovation, which is to ask you what hyperconnection means to you. That is, what does hyperconnection represent for you?
I'll start. Well, okay, Sonia. All right. Look, for me, it was very gratifying and rewarding to be in this category because I work with a dedicated team here in Chile. And hyperconnection truly makes a lot of sense to me because every day I try to bring out the very best in each member of my team to achieve what the company asks of us. It's about genuinely trying to bring out their very best potential and carefully discovering the unique abilities and strengths they can offer. Sometimes they don't realize these qualities right away, but that's exactly where my job comes in, to help bring out the best in them. And ultimately, to bring all of that to the company so we can truly fulfill Marco's core values of delivering excellence in our work every single day.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Great. There are certainly moments in life when it's quite difficult, I imagine, to truly integrate, to really get to know the other person, right? Let's say, for example, because hyperconnection also refers to exactly what you're talking about. The ability, the capacity to integrate, to get to know the other person in such a deep and meaningful way that you can actually empower and help develop them to achieve a specific result, a goal, but all the while caring for them, understanding them, and embracing them as individuals. What a complex task, because it's not just about knowing yourself well, it's about knowing the other person, knowing the environment. Well, honestly, congratulations, especially considering everything related to the point of sale, Sonia, because as you know, from your supervisory role, the realities are indeed very different. I mean, of course, I imagine, just to clarify, so how many people do you manage today?
I have 15 people under my supervision, and the most challenging part is that not all of them are in one place. They're in different areas, cities that are up to 12 hours apart. So that's where working with them comes in, being present for each one so they don't feel alone and feel supported. That's why it's super important for them to find a leader who can empower them and have their back. So it's really important to work with people because in the end, we can't forget that we work with people. So that's fundamental. It's one of the truly important and fundamental values that was always instilled in us by our family, and we have to carry it forward. Out in the field, as we always say.
Here, I 100% agree. Let me ask you another question.
If you had to give a piece of advice to the next person who wants to be awarded for hyperconnection, in your opinion, how could they do it?
I mean, how do you do it? Just imagine, you just mentioned a 12-hour distance, which means you have to be a leader, a supervisor, right? Thank you. Who can make a meaningful and lasting impact on others, but not necessarily in person. Maybe just a phone call away with everything that distance implies, understanding that. So, if you could give us a headline like, what did you do to be selected for hyperconnection in such an extraordinary and truly remarkable role? I would say that
First, you have to have a deep and genuine calling and truly love the work you do, especially when working with people. And I think the most important thing is to always be there for your workers, for your team, supporting them whenever they need you. And to be present, not just in work matters, but also beyond that on a personal level, not just showing up and asking how sales are going, but also how you are, how your family is doing. So that closeness allows you to count on them and ultimately achieve what you're aiming for. The company's goal is to reach the objective, but first you have to really ask yourself in a much more personal and thoughtful way and be present with the people who work with you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Tessie, over to you, if you would be so kind, please. Tell us.
Well, let me tell you now. I think for me, hyperconnection, in addition to what Sonia mentioned, is about being able to connect with others in a very genuine way, being able to listen to the people around us. I really like being able to have contact, for example, with people from different regions. And learning from each person always enriches me, sometimes in work-related matters about the job itself, but also when I hear them talking about culture or other topics. For example, last time we had a session and we were talking about Argentina and curiosities about a particular place that I didn't know about. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So for me, that's what hyperconnection is. Being able to be in contact with others, to listen to them, to be open, and to accept that everyone also has their differences, has their own opinions.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's about understanding the other person from where they are, logically accepting them, but also accepting the differences. I mean, understanding that you yourself are different, that you yourself may not necessarily agree. But that's what hyperconnection is. It's not about agreeing with everything. But it's very beautiful. Nothing.
I was here reflecting and taking some observations for a moment, girls, while you were talking. Look, I think the real gift is for the people. I mean, for the people who work with you. Nowadays, it's really hard to find people who have this trait well developed. Honestly, I mean, for it to be genuine. A lot of people discuss empathy and all that, but when it's applied truly and genuinely, that's when it shows, that's when people really connect. So, well, it's a truly special and meaningful gift for Marco that you have the ability to represent what this important pillar is, and that you can also positively influence and inspire other people. You can also clearly see how this way of connecting with others is so important and meaningful. I think the job, or rather the responsibility of being an ambassador, the responsibility that you will carry with you throughout this coming year, and that will be a real gift to the company, is exactly this: to influence and motivate others so that they too can become part of this world. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Nati, thank you so much, Sonia Tessie. And that's it. We'll keep seeing each other, and now we'll move on to the next category. Thank you, ladies.
Here we have the concept of integration.
Integration.
Yes, certainly with Hector and Jose Carlos. I think Jose Carlos won't be able to join, so, well, you know. Hello, Hector, how are you?
Hello, Natalia, Alessandro, how are you both? Good, thank you.
Well, how are you, Hector? It's a pleasure to have you here. Congratulations, truly. As we discussed with the rest of the categories, this is really something very special and meaningful, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you were nominated by your colleagues and then chosen by your co-workers, the very people who work with you every day. This recognition is a reflection of the appreciation and respect that those around you have for your efforts and dedication. So, congratulations once again, sincerely, for receiving this recognition that so many people are giving you, and for being identified as someone who stands out for your positive contributions and the difference you make. Someone who essentially brings people together, in a sense, uniting them. And that's where the question comes up, right? What does integration really mean to you ultimately? Well,
for me, integration is truly knowing and deeply understanding that every single achievement is always built together by working united as a team, supporting and helping each other, and recognizing that every accomplishment is, in fact, the result of everyone's combined effort. And there's a very characteristic phrase that I personally use a lot, which is, alone we get there quickly, but together we are able to go much further. And that's paradoxical because, thank you. They nominated me, they voted for me, even though I'm always making sure that everyone is very important for the outcome of the whole.
sorry, were you about to say something? Sorry.
No, I'm here, that's all. And yes, Hector. And you know what? I don't know if it's like this, if it's true, but I have the feeling that usually people who work in something more like more technical usually have a behavior. I can't really explain it very well, but I kind of have this feeling, this sense that people tend to get very focused on doing things more individually, you know? So here, in this particular context, I would say it's a double congratulations to you, because you're breaking with this status quo, at least that's my perception, that people who usually work on more technical things or are involved in more specialized, detail-oriented tasks tend to stay in that very individual mode, that somewhat isolated way of working. So thank you very much, truly, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tantri. So, Hector, if you could perhaps share with us a helpful tip or piece of advice. I mean, just imagine for a moment that you're speaking directly to your colleagues, or maybe even to colleagues you have from other countries, right? What would you say to them, or what kind of guidance would you offer in that situation? Then you tell them, well, how can you stay consistently concerned about including others, or about integrating people into a project? In other words, what's your secret to be carefully selected today for this prestigious integration award?
The first thing I find is that you should never forget that the most important thing is people. Even though Natalia's work is more individual in nature, the work that I do is really, truly, essentially the same. I depend on several people and on trust. So I give them my trust, and I genuinely care about people, because I know that when I support others, they will also support me in return. This mutual support helps me to achieve the best possible results in everything I do. So I think that's it. It's about trust, and never forget that people come first.
And that we are working together with other people, yes, all together as a team. Okay, Victor. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marco. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us and share your thoughts. Congratulations once again on being recognized in this important innovation category. Your achievements are truly impressive and deserve to be celebrated. We will continue our conversation off the record, but for now, we will say goodbye to our audience. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you, Hector. I really appreciate your help so much.
Well, Nati, we're reaching the end of the day, Marco, so let's say goodbye and give thanks, but please, you go ahead and start.
No, this is really beautiful. This lovely and special moment, truly. And now, this year, I'm going to turn 21 years old in March. So it's really wonderful to see and experience everything. I mean, to have gone through all this time and to see everything that we are, everything that we have become, and everything that we are still becoming. It's just amazing, honestly. Building, constructing, and preparing for what the future holds, right? And Marco has this very, very interesting and strong quality of always looking ahead, of truly anticipating things and making sure his path is clear and well thought out, ensuring he is ready for whatever may come next. Not just suffering through changes that others or the market impose on us, but actually seeing how we move in a direction, in a more proactive way that is from ourselves, right? And this is really something very different, something quite unique. You don't see this in general. So being part of Marco, witnessing how Marco has grown and continues to grow and evolve, and being here to experience it all is truly special. Marco's 30th anniversary is without a doubt truly a great joy and a significant milestone. And seeing how people come together, how they participate and engage, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I have no other word for it but that.
Yes, because honestly, 30 years, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, may sound quick to say, but it's actually a very long time. And there are so many stories, so many different companies, but above all, so many incredible people. Many people who have been an integral and essential part of building, I would say, absolutely every single line or every unique story that Marco has created and shared. And honestly, I truly believe that today, Marco, we have all experienced a bit of a small but significant revolution, in the sense that we have launched and introduced some new things that are clearly and directly related to the new positioning in terms of image and identity, with everything that is going to come from here on out in the future. I think the Mesa del Futuro event made it clear in some very important ways how Marco is starting again, embarking on a new chapter and a fresh beginning. To move forward in a carefully considered process of change, but one that always centers that process of change on people, focusing on people, looking at human capital, and thinking about how we can keep dreaming big. And these 30 years are an invitation for the next 30 years to come, to say that we have so much to give, so much to grow, to evolve, and above all, to transform ourselves. So thank you very, very much, truly, for being with us and accompanying us until the very end of Dia Marco. I sincerely wish you all an extraordinary and memorable Dia Marco, and we now leave you with a special video that we have prepared especially for today. Thank you so much for your presence and your continued support.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
According to Copilot, to reimagine means to imagine again. A powerful word that invites us to think differently, to give new meaning to what we already know. In 2025, more than 5 trillion searches on Google revolved around the same question. How do we reimagine? The answer isn't just in the descriptions. The answer lies in people.
At Marco Marketing, we turn it into purpose.
We enrich lives by reimagining the way people and brands connect.
Because when we talk about enriching lives, we're talking about Elijah, Caroline, Mary, Peter, and Stephanie, and the 4,000 dream makers who make it possible every day for consumers to connect with the brands they love. But wait, if we're talking about reimagining, why don't we reimagine Marco Marketing? For 30 years, Marco Marketing has been co-creating consumer-centered solutions. Today, we are the go-to-market business platform for brands across the Americas, a company that reimagines, grows, and evolves. That's why today, Marco Marketing evolves into Marco, the same platform with local impact and global reach, offering both physical and digital experiences at every touchpoint, with a different look that you don't just see, but feel.
And when you look at why Marco keeps setting the standard for retail and dream marketing across the Americas, the reasons speak for themselves.
More than 30 years inspiring our teams to build the future of brands in the industry, day by day. We are a unique company that simplifies complexity with business intelligence. We are disruptive, we optimize processes, but above all, we are people who, just like you, love what we do.
Hey Marco,